No Flaws by RedRix. Rimmeru, POV, on a flying horse. The trip from Dwargon to the capital city of Rimmeru took just 1 day. The dwarves were soon off, with Gazel promising to visit again soon. And he did. This time with a droopy vesture. "Well, Rimmeru," the king half shouted as he dismounted. "Here I am, as promised." Didn't you just leave 2 days ago? Is his kingdom really going to be alright? I couldn't help but think about that. As I silently stewed over these doubts, Kaijin came running up to me. "Your Majesty," he shouted, "you didn't sneak out of the castle, did you?" Peeved. Can you believe it? 100-man security detail, and not one noticed me escaping. Such ignoble slackers. It's right back to hard drilling for them when I return home. Well, I mean, they can't handle someone like you, my liege. Did you want to say something, Kaijin? And no, Your Majesty, nothing. So what brings you here this time, Your Majesty? Kaijin asked. Well, simple, really. You recall how I exiled you both from Dwargon based on my own personal judgment, so that's why I had to come here. And you will recall how our covenant included the sharing of technological expertise. Well, I've brought along the perfect man for the job. And here comes Vester kidnapped by his own king. King Gazel. Kaijin sounded like he was beside himself. Should I take this to mean you're fine with letting us take every piece of dwarven technology you have? Peeved. Let me give you this request, then. I want you to take this land we stand upon now and harness it to create technology like none seen before. You understand me? Your research should not rely on previous perspectives. You must work more freely than that, as you conceive new ideas. That is the whole reason why I have allowed the free exchange of technology between my nation and yours. Yea, I have some stuff that shouldn't even exist at this time, but it does. Better not bring that up and cause needless trouble. Hey, are you? Oops. Bet my covert force has caught up to me by now. I'll be on my way, then. Right as I was about to question him about him trying to read my mind, he skillfully diverted the topic and then he flew away. A very sudden arrival, and a very hurried exit. The man was like a living thunderstorm. Kaijin, are you sure your nation's safe with such a freewheeling man ruling it? Who can say? He's been ruling for centuries, so I imagine we'll be fine, but... Certainly, he was not so flighty when I served him in the palace. Well, I'm not one to speak, I suppose. As far as uncommon visitors go, one time, while exploring in the woods, I came across an insectoid, an insect-type monster. That was near death. It was maybe 1.5 feet tall, kind of a cross between a stag beetle and one of those big fighting ones, and I just thought it looked so cool. There was a dead blade tiger next to it, a B-ranked monster, and imagining this small creature defeating such a formidable foe was remarkable to me. There was another insectoid behind it. It had attacked me so the other one could make its escape 1 foot tall and looked like a garden variety wasp. Of course this was the future Zegan and Apido, so I did the obvious thing and gave them some of my slime cells and used processed magi steel to replace the missing parts of their exoskeletons. That plus a dose of healing potion fixed them right up. They seemed to get along with my flesh surprisingly well this time. I was worried that they would not be able to handle it, but Seal explained to me that they would be completely fine, albeit much stronger physically this time. I also gave them their names, with Seal adjusting the output of the energy. I was surprised to say the least that giving them names instantly formed a cocoon around them, letting them evolve into a humanoid form. Looks like it will be a while before I get my honey. Well, I put them into the treant's care for the time being for them to start collecting honey. At the moment, the forest's native races were most likely testing us, trying to see what this new force in Jura could do. That's why we were kind of obligated to puff out our chests a bit, so we could get everyone else to recognize us. We'll gradually roll that out, and slowly but surely, we'll make ourselves known. So in short, the city of Rimmeru, in the heart of the Jura Tempest Federation, was doing a pretty roaring business. Less than master the individual Milim Nava is heading for this place. Greater than. Oh crap, I completely forgot about her arrival. In an instant, I jumped off Xian's chest and teleported outside town. The instant I teleported, the magic force changed its aerial trajectory and landed right in front of me. The nearby trees had been uprooted and blown away, and there was a crater on the ground where it landed. A powerful will hid behind her blue eyes, and her platinum pink hair was done up in a pair of pigtails. She looked around 14 or 15, but there was no telling a magic-born's age from external appearances. Before I could say anything, she arrogantly puffed out her chest and declared, "Hello, hello. I am the Demon Lord Milim Nava. You look like someone really strong, so I wanted to come and say hi." That should absolutely not be your attitude when meeting with someone much stronger than you. Milim, POV. A few minutes before, Milim the Demon Lord had spotted the town below her. It was a pretty place with neatly organized rows of buildings, attractive trees lining the city roads. It was a town that seemed to exist in perfect harmony with nature, and protected by some sort of multi-layered barrier, and she could tell that several sub-Demon Lord level magic born, rated special A or higher, lived there. The biggest surprise of all, however, was that even the rank and file residents of town were at least low-level magic-born people as well. Their magic potential varied, but they were all creatures with intelligence, thinking for themselves and carrying out the work assigned to them. Nothing like these people existed in the forest of Jura before this point. Seeing such a settlement appear practically overnight would normally be unthinkable. They were all working together, regardless of their differences in strength. Milim couldn't even imagine what kind of leadership skills were required to make them all follow that. It excited her like Lil had recently, and she used her truth-revealing Dragon's Eye unique skill to gauge the abilities of people around town. Amazing, she admirably thought to herself. Some of them could go toe-to-toe with the newer demon lords such as Carillion, Frey and Clayman. Unbelievably, nearly every single resident of the town was a named monster. No way. Everybody here's got names. But the most surprising thing was there were two people who were unreadable with her Dragon's Eye. One was a black-haired individual, dressed in black, and another was a platinum blue-haired individual who teleported outside the town a few seconds ago. For the first time in several centuries, Milim felt a mixture of shock and excitement well forth from her heart as she remembered that there was only one other person who was unreadable before this. A certain conversation with a red-head demon lord came into her mind. Flashback. "Guy, did you grow stronger somehow?" questioned Milim. "Yay, and it's all thanks to a certain platinum blue-haired individual and his black-haired butler." "Wait, does that mean you took someone's help?" Rimuru shouted. After all, he was the type to not take anyone's help in his matters, being the prideful person he already is. "Yes, I accepted his offer, not to mention this person is far stronger than me." "Wah, what? You of all people actually admitting that someone is stronger than you?" "It's true, if you want to believe it or not depends on you entirely." After an awkward moment to silence, Guy spoke again. "Well, he's a true dragon but not a complete one and a twin of Veldanava, and if he met you Milim, he would probably treat you like you were his own child." After that, Guy had a lot of questions to answer for a few days straight. End of flashback. Milim laughed a little. She was happy. Good thing I dissuaded them all from coming here. Her unique skill, Dragon's Eye, allowed her to view the truth behind whatever she saw, something that worked even through Clayman's crystal spheres. It wasn't a complete picture, but it provided enough information to pique Milim's interest. The mysterious magic-born fighting Gelmud possessed enough power to place it far beyond merely high level. Carillion and Clayman may not have spotted it, but there was no pulling the wool over her Dragon's Eye. She also had a guess about who killed Gelmud, someone who then gained Gelmud's power for their own, letting them evolve up to pretty much one step away from Demon Lord status. Wait, maybe not. The Orc Lord would have only been able to evolve into a Demon Lord level creature. This magic-born's already far beyond that. And now she saw that, just as she figured, it was only the mystery magic-born who survived. She scanned the town from the skies, satisfied with herself. Wait, when did they even build a town like this? There were people maintaining the roads, people carrying around the chopped-up wood to and fro, monsters going in and out of construction sites. They were plainly building their own city. The townspeople here are a far cry from those boring old fools. AN referring to the dragon faithful. She wanted some new stimulus, something to fend off the boredom. That was the only reason she even came here in the first place. If Clayman or Carillion wanted more war power, she was willing to hand it over once she was bored. She'd tyrannize the young demon lords, watch them stew in their own juices, and once she was satisfied, she'd think up some new game to play. That was her original plan. But the mystery magic-born was much stronger than any of the demon lords had guessed. She was 100% sure that if it came down to fight she would lose. She once challenged Guy after him gaining power from a certain platinum blue-haired individual who looked exactly like the individual residing in this town. Anyways, after the fight began, she was instantly knocked out. She was not able to see what was even going on and had lost. And Guy said that there is a person that can defeat him even after he gained this much power. That thought even terrified her to some extent. She knew that she was strong, really strong, but she was instantly defeated, and there is someone who could defeat the person who she lost to. And she had found him. Looking exactly like the person Guy defined. Well, good afternoon. He spoke. My name is Rimmeru, and I am the leader of this town. I am impressed that you recognized this person as the strongest presence here. He. That's kid stuff for someone like me. My dragon's eye can measure all the magical energy people try to hide from me. But I would like to ask you one question? Yay, go ahead, ask anything, he replied with a nonchalant expression. Do you know the demon Lord Guy Crimson? And are you a true dragon? Yes, I do. In fact, I am a good friend of his, and yes, I am a Touré dragon, any your father's twin brother, my dear niece, he said as a warm smile appeared on his face. It was a real smile, not the fake ones she sees on the others. Milim, who grew up without even knowing how her parents even looked, always felt as if something inside her was incomplete while growing up. That feeling was made even more clear when she lost her one and only friend and pet dragon. But now, after meeting this person and seeing that smile, that warm smile of his, that feeling of emptiness disappeared, as it was the first time ever that anyone had ever called her family. That simple word was enough to make her break down into tears, tears of happiness. Rimmeru, POV. This is bad. This is really bad. Really bad. After I welcomed Milim, she just started crying, and I am trying my hardest to calm her down. Why did she even start crying in the first place? Less than master, you may have been the first person ever to call her a part of a family greater than. Oh. But I still need to calm her down, less than, greater than. After a few minutes of trying to calm her down, I just decided to give her honey that I received from a pedo a few hours ago. What? What is this? I've never eaten anything so delicious in my life. Her mood did a complete 180. I had a fair bit of inventory left, so I put a generous supply of honey into a jar and handed it to her. It wasn't a fancy jar, misshapen and handmade from clay, but Milim still accepted it with a smile, scooping a bit up and sucking at it with gusto. At least Diablo stopped the others from coming here for my help, or that could have made things much worse. Holding the jar of honey drops carefully, Milim stuck right to my side in lockstep. Does she want more honey? I had a supply, but no intention of letting her have more of it. I didn't want my portion to run away on me. Hey, she asked, sidling up to me as we walked. Hey, have you ever thought about calling yourself a demon lord? I mean, you are partly a true dragon, but you aren't completely a true dragon, so you can still be called a demon lord? What on earth is she going on about? And why would I even want to become one? She gave me a genuinely perplexed look in response. Huh? I mean, we're talking about a demon lord here. They're really cool, you know? You kinda want to look up to them, right? Why should I even look up to the demon lords? Us dragons are much more cooler anyways. You are not even a dragon completely, she said with a completely deadpan expression. Let's not talk about the small details. Anyways, Guy has been bugging me to declare myself as a demon lord for quite some time now, and now even you are saying me to become one. I might just declare myself a demon lord after my town properly develops into a nice city. MMMMHH. That's really good. Well, anyways, how do you get your fun in life? Oh, all kinds of things. There's practically too much for me to do, if anything. I only just got my hands on that honey a little bit ago. There's lots of other stuff I also want to do. Wait. Why you? You're doing stuff that's more fun than being a demon lord? That's not fair. It's totally not fair. Now I'm angry. Tell me what it is, and let me join you, too. You first have to learn some manners, if you want to join me. Fine. All right. Let's do this. I'll call you Milim, and you can just call me Rimmeru. Sound good? MMMMHH. Well, okay. I got it. Okay. Well, I'll give you a tour of the city, but no wandering around by yourself, okay? Okay. Rimmeru, ee. Great. There's a good girl. And no starting fights in town without my permission, either. Promise me? Of course. I promise. As we were walking having our conversation, Milim asked me one more question which completely stopped me in my track. Hey, were you behind the disappearance of the storm dragon Veldora? That single question almost gave me an heart attack even though I don't have a heart. After thinking about this for a few seconds I decided to tell her the truth. Sigh. Yes, I am, and he's not dead if you were wondering. Wahaha. I knew it. Someone as strong as you must have to do something with the early disappearance of Veldora. Yay, he is probably reading manga in my storage space or playing shogi with Ifrit, who's also trapped in my storage space. Okay. Who's Ifrit? Is he a spirit or something? How did you even know about that? But yay, he's a flame spirit. At the town's entrance, Rimmeru-sama, nearly half the town was there waiting for me. Rimmeru-sama, we sensed a huge magical force heading this way a few minutes ago. Good to see that you were completely safe, Sir Rimmeru. Anyways, who is this girl with you, Sir Rimmeru? These were the questions that started flooding as soon as I reached them. Jeez. You don't need to worry, guys. That huge magical force that you sensed was coming from this person, and you might know her by the name of the Demon Lord Milim Nava, and she is one of my relative. My answer was met with complete silence until Diablo came forward and said, It's an honor meeting you, Milim-sama, after which all of them stated cheering, some even started to cry tears of happiness. Some people even said things like, What? Lady Milim, the Demon Lord? Well done, Sir Rimmeru. We should expect no less of Sir Rimmeru. My stars, I've never seen her royal countenance in person before. Man, Milim is really popular. Anyways, I don't have to make another announcement because almost half of the town is gathered in this place. So just to make sure we're clear, starting today. Well, Milim's one of us. If she runs into any problems, I want you all to help her out. Yes, Rimmeru is my uncle, so if something comes up, I'm your girl. The cheers became even louder for some reason. A few minutes later, Gabiru was nearly killed by Milim for calling her a child. And later that night all her responsibilities were dumped onto me. The next day, after taking care of Milim, I headed for the sealed cave with Kaijin coming along. Were you all right after yesterday? I asked Gabble, who was waiting for me. He seemed fine to me, but a cheap shot from a demon lord could lead to all kinds of after effects. No problem at all, sir. I am supremely confident in my body's durability. He certainly acted like always. I breathed a sigh of relief as Vester gingerly came up to me. By the way, Sir Rimmeru, I did file the report with King Gazel as well. I hope it was all right. A report about Milim was what he meant. I asked him to send one off yesterday. Of course, I said to leave the part of her being my niece. That could lead to some unnecessary trouble. Not a problem. Did the communication crystal work all right? It did, yes. It connected me to King Gazel almost immediately. All I said to him was that the Demon Lord Milim attacked and that you handled it, Sir Rimmeru, but was that good enough? Yay, well, we talked it over last night, and it was decided that I'd be taking care of Milim. Because of that, if they have any bright ideas, I'd love to hear them. Yes, I am sure. The Demon Lord Milim is a class beyond all the others, as I understand. Quite, Gabble added. The strongest in the world, as far as I am aware. And I am her uncle and I am stronger than her. At this revelation they both looked shell-shocked. I mean, Milim is a walking natural disaster, and I said that I am her uncle and am stronger than her. If this news got out, it would very much create unwanted trouble. But there was no point in worrying all day. I had time to think about Demon Lord politics later. For now, I wanted to ask about healing potion. And they indeed delivered at making a full potion. So after some discussion we decided to sell the diluted version of this, calling them the low potion. Less than Master Milim has attacked Phobio, greater than, not again. Well, no point dwelling on the past. The future was more important. So what are you all here for? I said to the now awake Phobio. HMPH, and I have to reply to you, Loli would be magic born? Benimaru, Diablo and Shion immediately glared at him. I motioned them to stay cool, and they reluctantly stayed there, watching things unfold. Call me Loli if you want, but I'm definitely very much stronger than you. Also, I'd advise you to just give me some answers. I don't know this Carolon guy much, but depending on how you act around me, maybe he's gonna have to answer to us before long, okay? Think you're ready to make enemies with the entire forest of Jura? Well, look at you. The most self-important slime in the world, EH. And this entire town carries out the orders of such a base creature. What a bunch of wimps you must have here. And just because Lady Milim likes you a little, don't let that get to your head, boy. He seriously doesn't know how to sense danger, does he? A base creature? Milim, done with her sandwich, raised her voice again. You think you can pick on my uncle like that? Hang on, Milim. If you do anything else, I'm seriously taking dinner away from you, okay? Oh, okay. I'll be good, I promise. Well, first off, you're wrong. I am a slime completely and I rule over 30% of this forest, and if you're rarin' for war, then I'm willing to accept that. So I'd advise being careful in how you respond to me. The answers came surprisingly more readily than I thought. The pouting, sullen answers could be summed up as follows. The Demon Lord Carolon had ordered him to try to scout either the Orc Lord or the mystery magic born that fought him, whichever had survived. The magic born referred to us. Getting back to the subject, whoever won the fight between the Orc Lord and his foe was likely going to be an incredibly strong foe. So Carolon sent the Black Leopard Fang Phobio, a sub-demon lord in his own right, to check it out. Carolon had a good eye for that kind of thing, apparently, but Phobio was just too much of a moron for the job. Carolyn, breaking our promise not to get in each other's way. Milim was stewing next to me. Milim's presence meant that Phobio had no power here, so he glared at the two of us, barked out, "You will regret this," and left or more like ran away. Sigh. Man, now I have to deal with Charybdis again. Fuse, POV. Around the time when Rimmeru first encountered Benimaru and his clan, back when they were still merely ogres, Fuse was sighing as loudly as he could at the three adventurers in front of him. He had sent this trio to figure out what was happening in the forest of Jura, and the moment they got back, they began telling him the most astounding of tall tales. They were Kabul, Ellen, and Guido, three talented guild members, all worthy of Fuse's trust. Their ranks were all B, and Fuse knew they were more than up to the challenge that letter came with. The first story they had for him was about their final moments with Shizu Izawa, a woman Fuse, as well, felt he owed his life to. And that's how she summoned Ifrit, only to get swallowed up by the raging beast. She probably traveled out of town because she knew that would happen. I think she realized she didn't have much time left. You said it. And who knows if she ever recovered. My guess is that she would have been a lot happier with just lying down and dying in her sleep. After the expedition was over, Shizu said she intended to travel to the Demon Lord's territory. She had some unfinished business there, apparently, and she insisted upon attending to it. Fuse knew there was no convincing her otherwise, so he decided to help her from behind the scenes, pairing her with three adventurers he planned to send into the forest. A pity, then, that they weren't with her to the very end. Fuse had no right to criticize them for that. Their mission came first, and Fuse himself had kept her true nature a secret from them. But did they really have to leave her under the care of monsters? He had no right to criticize them, but it still left a bad taste in his mouth. Plus, there was so much of their story that he just couldn't accept. Shizu was one thing, but their briefing was entirely based on monsters building a town for themselves. A single slime was at the top of the food chain, gathering hobgoblins to construct this town, a full-on, sturdily made municipality, just like any human settlement. This trio was talking about a bunch of monsters clearing land in the forest, chopping down trees, and using the wood to build homes. They even divided the town into distinct zones, crafting intricate plans about what would be built where. The more Fuse heard about it, the more it sounded like a real, full-on town. But it was hard to accept monsters pulling a trick like that. And that slime made him wonder. This creature, apparently named Rimmeru, didn't seem like your typical named monster. In fact, all the monsters in this town were named, a situation that turned common sense on its ear. All this apparently happened after this Rimmeru monster appeared. It was too shocking a tale to ignore. So after these monsters rescued you, this is the town you were taken to? Right. And we're talking, you know, several hundred C+ ranked monsters living together? There was really nothing we could have done. I thought I was a goner for sure. And then, they fed us actual cooked meat. Shocking though their tale was, however, these three buffoons were making it sound like a nice campout in the woods. And after that, Shizu went out of control and Rimmeru defeated the magic born she transformed into. It was all simply beyond belief. Ifrit was a special A-grade spirit. If something like that went rogue and started attacking, it'd be a calamity-class danger. A nation the size of Bloomend would face a truly existential crisis. And a slime, the lowest class of monster, defeated this? While making it look like a child's play? Fuse wanted to shout at them to quit joking, but they all acted dead serious in their report. Between that, the dwarven artisans in town, and the healing potion that took care of even near-lethal injuries, he honestly began to wonder if they had dreamed it all. He suspected some form of illusory magic, but that was doubtful. Not as long as Ellen was there. Magicians like her had high magical resistance, and anyone who could overcome that with their illusions was a special grade in themselves. Plus, the equipment the trio had on was some seriously compelling physical evidence. They had boasted about it to Fuse to no end, but clearly it was of quality make and superior performance. A first-class set. They even possessed an item or two forged by Garm, that most famous of dwarven craftsmen. Fuse could tell they weren't fakes. It was ridiculous, but he had to accept it as the truth. He had to, but the report left him at a loss. How should he even judge this news? We had best send someone else to investigate, he decided after a week's worth of pained deliberation. By Cabal's description, his team never felt in danger inside this monster town. They had come home with gifts of equipment and healing potion, so that evaluation made sense. That, and after examining all this equipment, they found no curses applied to it and also potion of a better quality than almost anything the local guild had seen. This town of Rimmeru's was orderly, populated by monsters that followed the slime's orders. What's more, although Fuse couldn't guess at the motive, the slime expressed a desire to visit their own city sometime. Cobble and his friends said he was welcome, and should it ever happen, Fuse had already asked the trio to arrange things with him. To him, the idea of letting some unknown monster venture into the kingdom of Bloomend was outrageous. But defying the will of a monster powerful enough to defeat Ifrit solo would be just as foolish. Fuse found himself plagued with self-doubt. If I let such a monster into town, I could easily be prosecuted for subversion against the state. No matter what it took, even if it meant providing his own funds for the job, he really had to investigate this in more detail. Just as Fuse was fretting over who to select for this new expedition, Cobble and his cohorts came running over with a new problem. He could hear Cobble calling for him in the guild building now. Meeting him without an appointment normally wasn't allowed, but the panicked tone of his shouting gave Fuse pause. "What is it this time? Is it something to do with that one?" he asked inside his secret reception room, pointing out a hooded figure among them. "We got trouble, Fuse. This guy said there's an orc lord out there." An orc lord? Fuse almost spit his tea out. First Veldora blinking out of existence, then this mystery slime, and now this orc lord. Fuse suspected it might all be connected, and the thought was draining. "I'm sorry, but could I ask you who you are?" Fuse queried, recomposing himself. The hooded figure immediately removed his cloak, as if waiting for his cue. "Sorry about that. My name's Gobda, and I work under my captain, Gobda. I came here to tell Cobble over there about the Orc Lord, upon the request of my leader, Sir Rimmeru." Then he put his hood back on and sat down again. Fuse knew what he saw. That was a monster, a hobgoblin. He might resemble a human from far away, but the green twinge to his skin was unmistakable. And a named monster, no less. Cobble was telling the truth. This last bit of evidence finally convinced Fuse to believe fully in him. This Orc Lord report must have been the unvarnished truth as well, then. "My name is Fuse. I serve as guild master for the Free Guild here in Bloomend. Gobda, do you mind if I ask you a question?" "What's that, sir?" "This Sir Rimmeru, your master. Why did he want us to know about this?" "Ooh, the rank and file like me don't get told those kinds of things." "I see. If you ask me, I'd say the Orc Lord's well and truly dead already, but so be it. I wanted to go in with Gobda, too, but Sir Rimmeru commanded me personally to travel here instead." Gobda must have been fairly peeved about that, if he volunteered that information without being asked. He practically grumbled the last few words out. But Fuse was too thrown by the revelation to pay his tone of voice much mind. What? The slime. Defeating an Orc Lord? Are you kidding? Wait. Is this slime treating us as insurance? Is that how far ahead he's planned his moves? A monster? That's ridiculous. You ask me, though, Cobble volunteered. That orc lord's gonna be no match for Rimmeru. Oh, you said it, he took out Ifrit all by himself. Even if you let the orc lord mature, it's just not enough of a threat for him. Between the trio and Gobta, nobody in the room seemed to doubt Rimmeru's ultimate victory. That was. Well, whatever. The problem was, what was Rimmeru thinking at the moment? His distinctly unmonster-like activities stood out in Fuse's mind. Building a town, leading great crowds of monsters, and yet apparently seeking a cooperative relationship with mankind. Was Rimmeru the slime some kind of special creature? He seemed so diffuse. All right. Thank you for relaying the message. Understood, sir. I'll be off, then. Before anyone could stop him, Gobta was off his seat and out of the room, a dignified and very unmonster-like exit. I'm not sure I can deal with this guy by myself. Better talk to my friend first. The image of his good friend, the Baron of Vriard, popped into his mind. This was now a national issue, and Fuse was prepared to tackle it. The expedition he was picturing in his mind would soon be greatly expanded, to the point where it would become a 3-month investigation. 3 months later, he had his reports. Fuse was there, at the usual spot, having a secret meeting with Baron of Vriard. So this is the report from your investigation? Based on the evidence from their march, the force numbered several 100,000. That suggests beyond a doubt that it was an orc lord, doesn't it? Indeed, Baron. You would never believe how hard it was to ask the king for permission to deploy his intelligence department. They certainly came through for us, though. Ha ha ha, yes, I heard. It seems they have a chair all ready for you in that department. No, I imagine your father would like to hand his position as supervisor over to you sooner rather than later. Don't remind me, I have enough on my plate dealing with guild master duties here in town. True enough. But that's a discussion for another time. This is some extremely valuable information, a town of monsters, and a slime living there that can overcome an orc lord by force. An orc lord who may have led an army of up to 200,000, no less. And scariest of all those surviving orcs simply settled across the land instead of rioting and running roughshod over it. Is it all really true? I mean, I know it is, but I cannot believe any of it. Fuse could understand the Baron's feelings all too well. He felt the same way. No adventurer in the world could slay an orc lord with an army in the 6 figures supporting it. Even if they managed some kind of stealth mission to assassinate this nemesis, and even if it worked, that army would go nuts and raze all the nearby villages. There'd be no way to counter that. The national army would be a drop in the bucket, and the night core of some tinier kingdom would just be swallowed by the stampeding horde. You're right. It's simply unbelievable. Would monsters take such an intelligent, considered approach to this? And how did they convince that massive army not to riot in the first place? Did they actually manage to feed that many orcs? They must have. It's impossible to accept, but we have to. That slime, Rimmeru. I think he's saved all of us. Quote. Yes, indeed. So we have a town of monsters about a 2-week journey from Bloomond. That much, we've confirmed. They said it was an astonishing example of functional beauty, but they only had the chance to view it from afar. They've clearly been at work on a wide swath of land around the town, but all of it was still covered under a tight network of patrols. Even our own agents suggested that infiltration would be difficult at best. Doesn't that tell you a lot about the intelligence level of this town's monsters? And the real question is, how should we handle our own relationship with them? Should we approach this slime as a benevolent presence or as a potential threat to try to eliminate? Wait. You speak of eliminating him like it would be simple, but is such a thing even possible? Baron Vriard didn't raise an eyebrow. To him, as much as it was to Fuse, that was already a given. They had both concluded that Bloomond had no chance of victory alone, not unless the Western Holy Church was willing to expend paladins for the job. Each resident of that monster town was at least a C+ rank in themselves, as expected, since they were all named. Some were reportedly in our special territory. Their total war power couldn't even be measured right now. Are you volunteering for that, Fuse? Sure. I want to measure this Rimmeru guy with my own eyes. Vriard gave him an approving nod. Hostilities weren't anyone's first choice, but this was no potential challenger that could be left ignored any longer. Fuse felt the need to judge for himself. Relying on someone else to make that call wouldn't work. That was the best choice, and a choice he could only make because the Baron respected him so much. Plus, yesterday's events made Fuse believe all the more that visiting this slime directly was the best solution. He had asked Cabal's group to guide him to the monster's town on that same day. While they spoke, they were all approached by another stranger with a message. "You are Cabal, right?" the man asked. "I am here to relay a message from Sir Rimmeru. The Orc Lord issue has been resolved. Sorry I forgot to tell you guys, that is all." Nobody in the group was more surprised by this sudden intrusion than Fuse. They were all seated in a space inside the Free Guild, a room that took every measure possible against people sneaking in. If this stranger was invited in, that was one thing, but it would have taken unbelievable skill to make one's own way inside. "Wait. Who are you?" The blue-haired intruder turned his cold eyes toward Fuse. "I am called Soe. Sir Rimmeru has appointed me his covert agent." He gave the reply softly and steadily, completely unfazed by the coercion from Fuse, an A-fighter himself. Fuse may have felt overwhelmed by this all-powerful presence before him, but he still had the kingdom's intelligence force at his fingertips, and he knew how to use those skills of his. So he decided to gather as much information as he could from Soe. "Rimmeru, the leader of the monster town. Why are a bunch of monsters worried about us?" "Hey, haven't your friends already told you? Sir Rimmeru is exploring ways to live in peace and prosperity with the human race. I am unsure why you are so wary of us, but I would suggest that selecting reconciliation over rejection would be the smarter decision." Not even Fuse could hide his surprise at the statement. It meant that his attempts at intelligence gathering were completely exposed. Hoo boy. If this is the level of monster Rimmeru has recruited, I simply must meet him soon. He could tell that Soe was a monster. Even without the horn on his forehead, the aura was as clear as day. He had no intention of hiding it, but it emitted only a slight amount of magicules. It didn't suggest this creature was anything special, but Fuse's sixth sense was still ringing alarm bells. He decided to trust in it. "I see. So you're on to the fact that we've been investigating you. Well, before that, there's something I'd like to ask. How did a magic born of your level infiltrate this town? Because I believe we're protected by a barrier that blocks out all monsters ranked or higher. A high-level magic born like you shouldn't be anywhere near here." Ah yes. I did notice the presence of that barrier, but that's what it was meant for, then. Perhaps Sir Rimmeru or Lady Shuna could have identified it as such, but I wasn't able to see quite so much. Thank you for telling me. In exchange, I will answer your question. This body is generated by my replication skill, and thus retains only a tenth of my magical energy. In your ranking system, I imagine it would only manage a A- or so. Do you see what I mean? This kingdom truly does have a splendid defense network, but if it is willing to let low-level monsters slide that easily, I can see it still has its holes. Fuse listened slack-jawed at Soe's explanation, feeling the cold eyes on him. It sounded true enough to him, and his point was totally valid. With all the effort they expended dealing with hazard class A ranks, they had overlooked some of the most basic threats, and it was a monster, a potential target of this system, who had pointed it out to him. A small wonder that it turned Fuse's world upside down. "Well, if you will excuse me, wait," as Soe turned to go, Fuse shouted and stopped him. He had just enough time to explain to the monster that he wanted an audience with Rimmeru, in the town that he ran. "I will inform Sir Rimmeru, in that case," he said, bringing it close to the day's events. This was why Fuse was making the journey. He laughed a bit at the position he was in, dragging the kingdom into this, then dragging himself into the kingdom's work all over again. Damn. I didn't intend to serve my kingdom doing this, but... He might have complained about it, but he liked life in Bloomond. He couldn't just abandon it and flee. So he hired Cabal's trio as his guides, and they quickly planned the journey to Rimmeru, capital of the Jura Tempest Federation.